Good morning. This morning I'm starting a painting for a local exhibit for our Hummingbird Festival. The parameters are that the paintings are supposed to be of migratory birds in Southeast Alaska, and I've already done one painting for that show, and I wanted to do kind of a smaller, maybe more fun painting. This is of 3 herring gulls. Can't quite see it from here, but I have the drawing on there, and I'll just kind of bring you along as I work on this. The first day will be just kind of messy and loose as I figure out the composition and the colors. When I'm creating a painting where I don't want to have to spend a lot of time on perfecting the drawing, I'll use my reference photo from a copyright-free site, and I will put it in this old enlarger and projector that I have, and then just project the drawing onto my canvas, and it works pretty well. It's very primitive. I will put the little reference photos, shrink them down and put them in the projector before I project them on, and it's pretty crude, but it works pretty well, and then I can just spend most of my time focusing on creating the painting. All right, let's get these brushes sorted. My favorite shape, I don't know why, is always, these are sort of a modified filbert shape. And I like those kind of rounded edges. They hold a lot of paint, so those are very useful. These are maybe a little large for canvas this size. I'll probably use one of these for the background. So we'll save one of those out. I'll save this is actually a watercolor brush, so that's kind of a special purpose one. Those get really damaged by the oil paint. Probably save one small one out, one teeny weeny, extra small one for the eyes on these little birds. See, those are quite a bit smaller. Okay, I've got my brushes sorted into what I want to start with. This is a funny little method that I came up with years ago. I probably saw the idea online or something. I use these little egg cart strips to separate the brushes. Usually as I'm painting, I just kind of throw them on and they don't stay organized like this, but it does help to keep them from rolling off this old piece of foam core board that I use. I've just been using these disposable palette paper pads. They're just so easy. And I put saran wrap on top in between sessions to keep the oil paint from drying out. This will be an oil painting. I plan to do some tutorials with acrylic paints, which I don't use as much myself. When I was in college, all the instruction was in oil paint, and I just kind of stuck with that. This is my favorite thinner. It's kind of hard to get in quantity here on an island in Alaska, but it's odorless, so it's not annoying. It doesn't bother the family. Works pretty well. I preserve it by letting it sit, and then the paint sediment goes to the bottom, and then I pour the cleaner stuff into a new container. This one didn't settle terribly well, but that was several painting sessions, and eventually it does get cloudy. So there's all my spare brushes. It's a little sunny in here for the best lighting, but I need to get going. This exhibit deadline is coming up at the end of the month, and I need time for my paint to dry, so here we go. This is the way I like it to look when I start. I'm going to start with a really basic color palette today. I like to do warm colors on this side. This is titanium white. I always put that in that corner. It's just what I've always done for years, so that's where it lives. Sometimes I'll put more over here on the cool side because I do organize it by warm colors on this side. This is cadmium yellow light, cadmium red light, which is almost an orange type of red. I might have to bring in a cooler red later. We'll see how things go. This is just ultramarine blue. That is alizarin crimson, nice cool red, a little bit transparent. I don't love transparent colors a lot. I want my colors to actually stand out, do their work. This is cobalt green, which is kind of an interesting one I haven't worked with a lot, but often when I start mixing, I'll have a warmer piles and cooler piles, and that's when sometimes I'll add another bit of titanium white over here. I've just always liked titanium white. That's the one I've also used for years. I just kind of stuck in a rut maybe. A tiny bit of purple, hardly ever use that, it's almost out, but sometimes it's fun to add. So I'm not going to be too fussy about this. I'm just going to get a little of my thinner. Let's start with a little white. Let's start with the background, that'll be the easiest. We want kind of a warmish color, like I was saying. That is not a warm green, so let's warm it up a little with that. Cadmium yellow, I don't know why I plopped that in the middle of my palette. That's kind of a weird lime green color, don't know if I love that. Might have to get some yellow ochre on the job here, warm it up a bit. All right, we have the yellow ochre out. Let's warm this green up a little. Let's see how that looks. I do a lot of experimenting here, and that looks just kind of mucky, but at least it's warmed up. I don't know, I don't really like that. That's really muddy looking. Very dark. I'm gonna brighten it up a little. Put some more yellow. Just kind of making a mess till I see a color that I like a little better. It might still be a little too dark. Let's scoop some more of the... Now we have sort of a whole spectrum to work with here. Let's try that. It's a little muddy looking, but let's see what it looks like on the canvas. I am gonna start with this big brush here. I'm gonna use I have 2 containers of thinner. This one's the cleaner one, this one's the less clean. Let's use the less clean one, just because. All right, let's swirl it around a little. Let's just kind of start over here in this left corner. Hang on, ooh, that's brighter than I thought it would be, that's good. I have it kind of watery. This first layer is just gonna be quick. I don't mind if there's a few drips. And let's kind of get around these guys. It's probably gonna drip on there. That's what paper towels are for, right? And let's make it a little cooler. We're gonna make the light source come from this way. Always gotta consider the light source. That's what helps you get the form and the depth. And I'm making a mess. This is my usual method. Make a mess. It's okay. Usually takes me about 3 sessions of, I don't know, an hour or 2 each to finish a painting this size. Kind of overdid it on my thinner there. But right now I just kind of want to cover the canvas, don't worry. This is really my favorite stage of a painting, is just getting this first layer on. You don't have to be fussy, you have a lot of room for fixing things, which is kind of fun, it's free. My style, I'll show you a couple of my other oil paintings. These not to be terribly fussy. I just don't have the patience for super fussiness. I like that weird chartreuse color, so we'll see how that works as the painting goes on. I'm going to switch brushes and use a little cooler color down for the bottom. I'm going to use one of my bigger brushes, the flathead brush. I don't use these quite as much. I don't really love that squared off shape. I can't explain why. Right, so I'm not even gonna use my palette knife this time. I don't use my palette knife very often. I'm gonna just start with a little white. Let's get a little ultramarine in there. Make kind of a purpley color. And then let's dull it down with some green. It's gonna make kind of a weird grayish purple color. Let's see how that looks. Kind of like the doing a little drawing in there and then kind of painting and kind of going back and forth between drawing and painting, so we'll see how that goes. And I never use black. In art school, we were told never use black. It's flat and it's boring. It's an uninteresting color. So to make some black, I'm gonna use this ultramarine blue. Big little hair in there. I have 4 dogs, so dog hair is always. Use a little of that. I'm gonna use these, just 3 dark colors here, and then I'm gonna just kind of do some drawing on these. Get these seagulls sort of drawn in. Photos as references, you have to be really careful not to follow them slavishly, because photos flatten the image and they kind of distort it in a different way. And so when you're painting, you really want to remember the 3-dimensionality. You need to remember that you're making a painting, so really focus on what makes the painting look good. Don't slavishly follow the photo. If you use this like a little tiny black and white print like I'm using as a guide, that actually almost helps in a way, because you're not trying to slavishly follow the original photo. You just have this dumb little thing to just kind of remind you of the basics, so that you can focus on just using your artistic eye. And if you haven't painted much, you're focusing on developing your artistic eye. It's always being developed. You'll feel like you're just becoming so accomplished and you're doing everything great, and then the next painting will just stump you. And that was the hawk for me. That one caused me some problems and took me way longer than I expected, but I sure learned a lot. And that's one thing about art. You're always learning, exploring, discovering. Especially, I'm just always discovering a lot, because I don't have a very perfectionistic approach, as you can tell. I'm going to start with the darker color on those white parts. I'm going to use some of that purpley color. Maybe add a little green. I'm going to start with that for the shadows here. For this white. Because white isn't really white. It reflects a lot of the colors all around it. And there's his little shadowy throat. The light's coming from this way, remember? So all of our shadows going to be over here on the right side. mixing some I got the ultramarine, put a little orange in there. That gives us kind of a nice dark color. Hopefully it's not too glary. Maybe add a little green. It just makes a nice dark color that's not a boring black. Get my stupid little picture up. All right, I'll put the darkest color here on the bottom because that's where the shadow is. Remember the light source? Always remember your light source. Start with your dark. Let's just get this, guys. I'm going to just add a tiny bit of this green. I kind of like the thought of putting a little green in here to sort of reflect our weirdo green sky. I realize I obliterated his eye, but that's okay. I'm probably getting the idea that, yes, we can fix everything. Almost everything. That's fun about the first day. There's no mistakes. You can just have fun. If you don't like the color of your background, this happens to me all the time, I want to change it. Oh my, I have a giant drip. Heck, you can even let it drip and have kind of a cool artsy look to it too. Sometimes I'll let drips go on purpose because they look kind of cool. Depends on the style of the painting you're working on. Let's do the orange, that'll be fun. I need a smaller brush though. I don't have very many really good small brushes. I did so many large paintings over the years. It's a little tiny one, it's very frayed. This is not a very cool brush, but let's see how it does. And I'm going to check with my color photo to see what. It's a pretty orangey color, so I think I'm gonna mix some of this cadmium orange with my kind of a orange, very kind of, I was gonna say warm orange, but most oranges are pretty warm. I'm gonna make it darker. I always start with the darkest. I'm gonna make it a little darker orange than it actually is. So that looks like a pretty good beak color, do you think? Let's go with that. And then just get that color in there. Oh, this is a dismal brush. I hate this brush. I'll twirl it to mitigate its frayedness. Yuck. Okay, I'm not using this brush. I hate it. I hate it. I probably could use some new small brushes. Let's see what I have over here. Here's a better one. This one's not so frayed. There we go. I'm afraid to use the frayed brush. That was a bad joke. All right, here we go. Just kind of integrate the edges so everything looks like it kind of meshes. Incorporating a little bit of all the colors into all the parts gives it sort of an integrated look. These guys have a very smooth shape, so I want to make very smooth movements when I'm drawing. I would kind of almost think of how the animal would feel if I was running my brush over it. Very smooth. All right, so there we got sort of just the rough basics of this painting. I'm going to leave it for now. It was really fun having you all along for my first painting video. I plan to do some more acrylic, kind of paint and sip, start to finish in an hour, possibly 2 hours. The videos won't be that long, but anyway, we'll be able to paint together. I think it'll be really fun. Been wanting to do that for a long time. So anyway, I'm gonna do a part 2 and part 3 on this. As I finish it and get it ready for the hummingbird art exhibit, which will open at the first weekend of April. Thanks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I have a whole variety of types of videos for you to watch and follow along with. Thanks.